So, I seriously can't believe that it's been a year since last October. That sounds redundant and obvious. I know it has to have been a year, but I mean, I can't believe a year's already passed. And for those of you that were hanging around with us last year, this was the time where we talked a lot about death and dying, because we have Halloween coming up and Dia de los Muertos and other traditions from around the world that at this time in the year started to pay more attention to the darkening days and the coming chill. And it's a favorite topic of mine because I actually think that this is probably, and I've said this before, but I mean it, maybe one of the most important topics that we can face if we are on a path of some kind of spiritual growth, some kind of awakening, some kind of a desire for true lasting peace, and I dare say even health and balance. And I am reminded of a story, and I have to tell you, I didn't think of this story until Gonzalo was recreating, I think it was like a walk in the fall with the leaves crunching underfoot and the last birds remaining before flying south and kids in the park where they still didn't have to wear winter jackets yet. And I remembered a time I was about, did I say that like a Canadian? About? I was about 22 years old, and I was starting my chaplaincy training in palliative care chaplaincy, which meant providing spiritual counseling for people at the end of their life. And this was new to me. I mean, I was very excited about it, being the wacko that I am. But it was not something I really, had a lot of exposure to. I hadn't been around a lot of people at the end of life. And I remember one of my first experiences, and you reminded me of it. I was sitting with a woman. In fact, what I remember was sitting in the hall, waiting for a family visit to finish. I was intimidated by the fact that there were a bunch of people in the room with an elderly woman. And it was the afternoon. I remember the low light of day, and it was the fall. Actually, now that I think about it, it would have probably been October. And I remember her, it just sounded like telling stories and reminiscing. And then the family left, and I got up and very timidly went in and said, my name's Jonathan. I'm from the spiritual care program, and I wonder if you'd like to have a visit, hoping she'd say no. And then I could go on with my day, and then hopefully everyone would say no, and I could check that off. Visit offered, notes charted. But she said, sure, have a seat. And I thought, rats. And she just started talking. I mean, just like that. And I remember she said, can you see the lake? And I thought, oh, she's gone, like she's lost it. She said, look at the ducks. She was kind of looking off in the distance. She said, it's getting cold now, isn't it? And I didn't know what to do. So I just listened. And she said, so beautiful this time of year. This is my favorite place. I didn't know where she was. And she went on to talk about the lake and the ducks and wanting to go for a walk later around the lake, which of course she couldn't do. And then she said, what color do you think I am? And I thought, I don't know. I don't know what did she mean her race? Did she mean her pale skin color as she passed? And she said, look at the leaves Some are red now. Some are gold. Some are still green. Some are such a bright yellow. And of course, she meant, what colored leaf am I? We all die. Everyone in this room is dying. We've been doing it since the moment we were born. It's the only thing we're all going to do. You know, we're not all going to strike it rich. We're not all going to have perfect health. We're not all going to have an easy ride. We're not all going to get what we want. We're not all going to find the soulmate of our life. But we're all going to die. And her question was, what color am I? What colored leaf? Am I a red maple? Am I a brilliant yellow aspen? In our dying, we are beautiful. If we could only see it. If we could only see it. If we're too attached to life, to ego, or I dare say the process of becoming something, identity and identification, well, then it's not so pretty, right? Dying starts to feel like failure. I didn't get there yet. I didn't finish yet. But it's an amazing thing how this universe was constructed. You know, here we are, a group of people presumably interested in spiritual growth and awakening. And in some moments, it just seems so difficult. Which is odd because everything around us is pointing to the simplest truth. And how does it do that? It does that by dying, by taking things away, one after the other, every day a reminder of what lasts, what is eternal. Spirit, consciousness, love. All different words for the same thing. Many of you call it God. It's the thing that we seek. And think about this. The universe trying desperately to show us the truth. And we desperately fight it. Right? Nope, I'm this car. Did you see this gorgeous new car I got? Smell it. It's got that smell. The universe says, car accident. Get it? No. New job. Oh, yes, it's the job I always wanted. Increase in pay. Look at my cards. The universe says, downsizing. I mean, everywhere you look, you can see the world falling away. It's everywhere, from the vegetable drawer in your refrigerator. I just cleaned ours out. Terrible reminder of death and decay. To what we see on the news and what's happening to our bodies and our life around us, the universe, God, Spirit, life, constantly telling us, let go, let go, let go. This is not who you are. If what you truly seek is peace, then just watch what nature is showing you. Listen to what life is telling you, which is all that passes is not real. And we've heard this in every faith, in every culture, in every voice. That which is ultimate and lasting is our truth. And yet we cling to our stuff and our relationships and our jobs. And again, life just reminds us, let go. And so the secret to a good life is dying constantly. In fact, the great mystic teachers will say that the true essence of the spiritual path is to die while you are alive, to let it all go. When we look to the mystic traditions of the East, they talk about the non-dual, the non-dual, where there are no two things, the absolute unity of all. The absolute unity of all, which in the Western world we call oneness or the fullness of spirit. But it can only be revealed when we let go of all the little things, the particular things. And so the spiritual path is this curious puzzle in which we come into the world, and by force of nature, we become something. We take on an identity, right? Whatever our gender is, whatever our race is, whatever our sexuality is, whatever our income is, we take all these things on as identity so that we can get up in the morning and engage the energy of life. But then, rather than seeing them for what they are, just tools, vehicles, temporary, fleeting, secondary, we become identified. And most interestingly, if we have not come to peace with that which we are, then the thought of no longer existing is all the more terrifying. Does that make sense? In other words, it's an identity issue. Because if you believe foolishly that you are what you have, that you are your mind, that you are your body, well, then of course it'll be terrifying when you consider that these things might one day go. But if you know in truth, if you even trust or believe or just hope long enough that one day you will get to experience that which is beyond death, and your true nature, then dying starts to take on a different quality. For some, it becomes a pastime, becomes exciting. Joseph Campbell, many of you know Joseph Campbell, said, when you're falling, dive. And that's the lesson, isn't it? That's our lesson in the fall. As the leaves turn, as so much death comes to the world, embrace it. See the beauty of it. Look at the bare branches against the crisp blue sky. Shuffle your feet through the gold and red leaves on the street and embrace that which is dying in your life. Don't fight it. Let it go. Just let it go. And see. You don't have to do anything but wait and see. So, this is what I wanted to share with you today. And maybe we can close our eyes and finish with just a little meditation on this lesson. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And just think for a moment about changes in your life that may be asking you to let go. Or death in your life. Could be the loss of something, or could be the loss of someone. And for a moment, can you suspend your judgment of these things? And just hold them in your awareness with love. This is the way of it. This is life. This is spirit showing itself. Can you hold these things so scary to let go of? And then with grace, with acceptance, and with trust, release them, bless them, and know that that which is infinite can never be taken from you, and that the truth of who you are is greater, eternally enduring, and forever resilient to the losses and the wounds of life. And this is something to celebrate.